Orderly thinking. Among so many other things in life, have you ever considered why it is that most of us are rather sloppy? Sloppy in our dress, in our manners, in our thoughts, in the way we do things. Why are we unpunctual and so inconsiderate of others? And what is it that brings about order in everything? Order in our dress, in our thoughts, in our speech, in the way we talk, we walk, in the way we treat those who are less fortunate than ourselves. What brings about this curious order that comes without compulsion, without planning, without deliberate mention? Have you ever considered it? Do you know what I mean by order? It is to sit quietly without pressure, to eat elegantly without rush, to be leisurely and yet precise, to be clear in one's thinking and yet expensive. What brings about this order in life? It is really a very important point. And I think that if one could be educated to discover the factor that produces order, it would have great significance. Surely, order comes into being only through virtue, for unless you are virtuous, not merely in the little things, but in all things, your life becomes chaotic, does it not? Being virtuous has very little meaning in itself, but because you are virtuous, there is precision in your thought, order in your whole being, and that is the function of virtue. But what happens when a man tries to become virtuous? When he disciplines himself to be kind, efficient, thoughtful, considerate, when he attempts not to hurt people, when he spends his energies in trying to establish order, in struggling to be good, his efforts only lead to responsibility, which brings about mediocrity of mind. Therefore, he is not virtuous. Have you ever looked very closely at a flower? How astonishingly precise it is, with all its petals. Yet there is an extraordinary tenderness, a perfume, a loveliness about it. Now, when a man tries to be orderly, his life may be very precise, but it has lost that quality of gentleness which comes into being only when, like with the flower, there is no effort. So, our difficulty is to be precise, clear, and expensive without effort. You see, the effort to be orderly or tidy has a narrowing influence. If I deliberately try to be orderly in my room, if I am careful to put everything in its place, if I am always watching myself where I put my feet and so on, what happens? I become an intolerable bore to myself and to others. It is a tiresome person who is always trying to be something, whose thoughts are very carefully arranged, who chooses one thought in preference to another. Such a person may be very tidy, clear. He may use words precisely. He may be very attentive and considerate, but he has lost the creative joy of living. So, what is the problem? How can one have this creative joy of living, be expensive in one's feeling, wide in one's thinking, and yet be precise, clear, orderly in one's life. I think most of us are not like that because we never feel anything intensely. We never give our hearts and minds anything completely. I remember watching two red squirrels with long glossy tails and lovely fur chase each other up and down a tall tree for about 10 minutes without stopping, just for the joy of living. But you and I cannot know that joy if we do not feel things deeply, if there is no passion in our lives. Passion in the sense of feeling things very strongly, and we can have that vital passion only when there is a total revolution in our thinking and our whole being.